The high culture revolutionaries didn't really catch on at the time. Most people preferred modern crime fiction, silent films, and the most exciting new technology of the day. One evening in June 1920, a crowd was gathering outside the Marconi Works in Chelmsford, Essex, waiting breathlessly for the Australian-born opera singer Dame Nellie Melba. Dame Nellie Melba was the most famous singer in the world. She was huge. Melba Toast, Peach Melba, both named after her. She arrived here in Essex for Britain's first ever radio event. When she got to the rather primitive studio, one of the engineers explained to her that her singing was going to be transmitted from a 450-foot-high tower just outside. "Young man," she said, "if you think I'm going to climb up there, you are greatly mistaken." At 7:10, accompanied by a small grand piano, Dame Nellie directed her voice into the microphone. The 30-minute concert, sung in English, French and Italian, began with Home Sweet Home and ended with a single verse of God Save the King. The world's first international broadcast performance was picked up by radio pioneers all the way from Chelmsford to Paris, Madrid, Berlin, even Newfoundland. The next day, the papers reported that the songs came over mellow and perfect without scratch or jar. Radio 1, late-night talk shows, Terry Wogan. This is where it all began.
Hello, CQ. Hello. Hello, Ash. Hello, Ash. There may be some jamming. There may be some oscillation. Whoo! Sorry. Well, sorry, CQ. Closing down a moment.
Most of Ireland had left the United Kingdom, but the British were already beginning to identify themselves less by territory than by culture. Regular radio broadcasting began in 1922. Programmes were planned and scripted here at the Cock and Bell in the Essex village of Writtle. And all under the guidance of Captain Peter Eckersley, ex-RAF engineer, born entertainer and all-round show-off.
Hello, CQ. Hello, CQ. This is 2M Talk Writtle testing. This is 2M Talk Writtle testing. Are the signals okay? No, they're not. Wave your hand if it's all okay. No waves. No waves at all.
To start with, Peter Eckersley and his tiny team were only authorised to broadcast for half an hour a week, Tuesday nights. They'd pile down to this old army hut from the pub, and they'd put on records, they'd read out plays, made spoof weather announcements, they even had their own theme tune. The nearness of a microphone can do strange things to people, and as time went on, Eckersley's exhibitionist tendencies became more and more pronounced. On one occasion, he promised a night of grand opera. But there was no Dame Nellie that time. All the arias were sung by Peter Eckersley himself. But Captain Eckersley was about to have his wings clipped. On the 14th of November 1922, the British Broadcasting Company was established. John Reith, a tall, balding Scot with a long scar running down one cheek, was appointed general manager. To call John Reith odd would be a wild understatement. His father was a Scottish Presbyterian minister, and he came from a family who all seemed to dislike each other intensely and were prone to violent rages. Reith himself was almost perpetually furious with somebody. He was one of history's great haters, and also one of its great Puritans. And this was the man who now had his hands on the BBC. Reith appointed Peter Eckersley as his chief engineer and set to work shaping the future of British broadcasting. Everybody was struggling with two big questions. What was broadcasting for, and who should control it? Well, Peter Eckersley was absolutely clear. Every week, he and his team would trundle this piano down from the Cock and Bell pub to his ex-army hut, essentially because they wanted to entertain their listeners. Reith completely disagreed. For him, broadcasting was about information, education, and high culture. So who was going to decide? Well, that at least was becoming clear. John Reith would decide. John Reith was in charge. And in 1929, Captain Eckersley got divorced, and John Reith sacked him.